Okay, let's unpack this. Today's deep dive, it comes from you, actually, one of our listeners.
Oh, right, yeah.
You sent us this really personal reflection. It's based on an episode called Let It Go from a show, Life Unpacked.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it's this incredible story, quite raw and personal, charts a path through, like, deep dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
Some surprisingly simple advice, and then just this radical life change.
Sounds fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So what's our angle here?
Well, our mission today isn't just to, tell the story. We really want to dig into this journey.
Okay.
Pull out the key insights, those surprising moments that, well, make it stick with you.
Like what happens when someone actually does it?
Sure.
Takes letting go all the way.
Exactly. To the absolute life-altering extreme. What can we learn from that?
Right. Well, what jumps out immediately, I think, is the starting point.
Where they were at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The source talks about being in their early 40s and just intense disillusionment, feeling like everything was out of order. Nothing they'd done mattered. Couldn't even picture a future.
That sounds heavy. Not just a bad mood, then.
No. The text calls it a protracted period of self-doubt and general disillusionment. Almost like a, midlife crisis kind of thing.
A really deep disconnect from their own life, it sounds like.
Totally.
That feeling of just hitting a wall, looking around and thinking, this is not it.
Yeah.
And you said they felt out of order, couldn't see a future. What does that kind of internal chaos usually? How does it show up?
Well, it's like this powerful internal paralysis.
Paralysis.
Yeah, because if you can't see a future, how do you plan? How do you get motivated?
Right. Impossible.
And all the usual fixes, work harder, get a new job, find a hobby. They don't feel relevant.
Because the problem isn't out there. It's in here.
Exactly. It's internal.
Yeah.
And this story, maybe it suggests that the only way out of that deep kind of directionless feeling is, well, something radical.
A major internal shift.
Yeah. Maybe sparked by external action sometimes.
Which I guess brings us to that chat with their father. Pretty blunt, wasn't it?
Oh, incredibly blunt. The narrator's trying to sort of hide how bad things are.
Put on a brave face.
Right. And the father just cuts through it. So what's up with you? Simple as that.
And when the narrator admits they just don't know what to do, the advice is just...
Then let it all go. Bam.
So simple. Almost sounds easy or dismissive.
It does seem almost flippant, doesn't it? And you see that in the narrator's reaction. They immediately list the big stuff.
The tangible things. Job, house, friends.
Right. And the father's reply, everything.
Everything. Just, wow.
Yeah. And that exchange, it really highlights a core tension, I think. We build our lives, our security around these external things.
Our identity, even.
Definitely. And the idea of just letting them go, it feels impossible. Maybe even like betraying all your hard work.
It goes against everything society tells us, right?
Yeah.
Spend your life building, acquiring.
And suddenly the advice is just discard it all.
Completely counterintuitive. But the source says, even though they dismissed it at first.
Those words stuck. Never forgot what he said.
And 3 years later, it came back to haunt them.
Yeah, and that's the turning point, isn't it? Where the internal crisis sort of explodes into action.
That Saturday morning, today is the day.
It doesn't sound planned at all.
Yeah.
More like this. Simmering feeling finally boiled over.
Right. No mission of talking to anyone, no gradual winding down.
Just this sudden, overwhelming need to do something, to act on that advice from 3 years prior.
The speed is just incredible. Grabbing a phone book, remember those?
Huh. Yeah, it definitely dates the story a bit.
Calls a charity, and by noon, poof, the entire house is basically given away.
All the possessions.
Gone. And they admit calling early specifically because they were scared they'd change their mind.
Smart move, maybe. By midday, empty house.
Then quits the job, quick goodbyes, hits the road. Just gone.
Definitively let it all go, as the source puts it.
So this super rapid dismantling of a whole life, what does that tell us about the crisis itself and the response it can trigger?
Well, it really speaks to the sheer intensity of the unhappiness, I think.
Like a pressure cooker.
Exactly. Sometimes the pressure just builds so high that only a radical, immediate release feels like an option. It kind of bypasses all the rational planning and hesitation.
Like an instinct, a gut reaction.
Almost, yeah. A gut-level response to something that just feels unbearable. A complete system reboot, triggered by an emergency inside.
And it's fascinating that even after doing all that, making such a huge, irreversible move,
He still didn't call the father right away.
not until they were already on the road. The source says they were on the road to parts unknown when it really hit them.
The full weight of what I had done finally hit home.
Yeah. And that leads to that incredibly vivid image you mentioned earlier.
Highway signs?
Yeah, approaching a major highway, seeing all the signs for different entrances, and just breaking down, sobbing.
Because they had absolutely no idea which way to go. No idea where they were headed.
It's like that internal confusion just became physical, projected onto the road signs.
It's the perfect visual for being utterly lost, isn't it?
Totally. So they pull over, completely overwhelmed, and then they call the father.
Right. Raw emotion, apparently even angry, feeling abandoned, directionless.
And the father? He laughed.
He laughed. Yeah. But I don't think it was dismissive. More like the clarity of someone seeing the whole picture.
Okay.
And then he drops the second big piece of advice.
Yeah.
The real game changer.
The core reframe, you called it.
Exactly. He says, you just don't get it, do you? You're not going to a place. You're going to people.
You're not going to a place. You're going to people.
There are people everywhere. What difference does it make what direction you choose?
That shift, that changes everything. What does that moment really tell us about what was missing before? Even with the job, the house, the friends.
Well, it strongly suggests that the feeling of nothing mattered, being out of order, it wasn't really about a lack of things or achievements.
It was about connection.
It seems so. A lack of meaningful connection. The father's words completely pivot the focus. Away from places, goals, stuff.
And towards people, human interaction.
Towards that fundamental human need. Realizing maybe the real currency of life isn't what you have or where you are, but who you're with. Relationships.
And the narrator gets it instantly.
Immediately. Realizes the father's right. Places aren't alive. People are.
And that image, oceans of people just waiting for me to wade in, that's powerful.
It totally reframes the situation, doesn't it? It was terrifying directionlessness.
Becomes opportunity.
Exactly. An exciting opportunity. The fear of not knowing where is replaced by the potential of who you might meet. Anywhere.
So flipping a coin to choose a direction, it's not random chance anymore?
It's an act of faith in the human landscape, you could say.
And it worked. The source says, it seemed like people really were waiting for me everywhere I went.
Which speaks volumes about perspective, right? Once your internal focus shifts, maybe the world outside seems to shift too.
It's an amazing testament to how powerful that shift can be, even if it took such a drastic act to get there.
Definitely. And they met people they never would have otherwise. Acknowledging, of course, that most people thought they were.
Insane.
Pretty much, yeah. Everyone except my father.
Which leads to that reflection near the end, doesn't it? About why other people who say they envy this freedom don't do the same thing.
Right. And the source lists the very real practical reasons.
Family, house, possessions, responsibilities, all that stuff.
Exactly. The narrator admits their situation was unique. It allowed for that kind of total reboot.
Reboot. That's the word they use. And this difference, I think this is key. This is where the story offers something for, well, maybe everyone.
For people who can't just sell everything and drive off.
Right. The source suggests that for those with ties, with responsibilities, a full reboot might not be realistic or even desirable.
Precisely. And that raises the really crucial point. Okay, if you feel stuck, but you can't just wipe the slate clean, what can you do? What's the takeaway?
And the implication seems to be the change doesn't have to be quite so dramatic.
Exactly. The source says they might only need to recalibrate rather than reboot their lives.
Recalibrate. I like that. Instead of rebooting, fine-tuning the system, not throwing it out.
Yeah, adjusting things within the existing framework.
So how does that core idea, the going to people insight, fit with recalibration for someone with a mortgage and kids, say?
Well, the source hints at it. It adds that maybe the people, the connections that could make the difference, maybe they're already around them.
So the oceans of people aren't necessarily far away.
Not necessarily on the other side of a coin flip and a long drive, no. They might be right there.
In your community.
Yeah.
Your workplace, your existing circle.
Potentially, yeah. Waiting to be really seen, really engaged with. So recalibration could mean consciously shifting your focus and your energy within your current life.
Prioritizing human connection more. Nurturing those bonds.
That seems to be the suggestion. Focusing on the who instead of just the what or where, even if your where doesn't drastically change.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this a bit.
Sure. So we trace this journey, right, from deep, directionless dissatisfaction, where even highway signs felt meaningless.
through this incredibly radical act of letting go of everything physical.
To this key moment of realization. The path wasn't about finding a place. It was about finding people. Connection.
Yeah. The core insight being that shifting focus from external stuff, goals, possessions to meaningful human connection can be profoundly transformative.
Absolutely. And while this person's path was a total reboot, the story gently guides us towards thinking about recalibration.
For those of us whose lives don't allow for or need such a drastic change.
Right. Maybe addressing that feeling of being stuck by adjusting our perspective, focusing on fostering deeper connections that might be closer than we think.
Makes a lot of sense.
So, ultimately, this story leaves us, and you listening, with a really compelling question, I think.
Which is?
Based on this experience we've unpacked, what might letting go actually mean in your life right now?
Big or small?
Big or small. Could be a physical thing, sure. But maybe it's just an internal expectation, a way of thinking you need to release.
And the other part?
And where might focusing on going to people, really connecting with the humans around you, rather than fixating on a specific destination or outcome, where might that lead you next?
That idea of recalibration, seeing those oceans of people, maybe right in your own neighborhood, that's definitely something to mull over. A powerful story. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into what let it go can really mean.